All right, hi, this is Julian Jackson with J Prime Realty Group of LPT Realty. And before I get started, I just want to share with people, why I'm so excited about LPT and what I'm able to do with J Prime Realty Group, or Team J Prime, as I call it for short. But the main reason is for probably the last 7-8 years or so that I've been doing real estate, I've been part of multiple brokerages. I was part of EXP, a couple of boutique brokerages, Fathom Realty, JPAR Realty, and they all had a lot of different really great things they were doing and somewhat innovative at the time. The 80-20 split with rev share and stock was great. Some of the people who joined at the right time were able to get stock at a very low price, and then when EXP hit a certain point, the stock was worth a lot of money. So that concept made sense. The rev share made sense. And of course, if you joined at the right time, of course, it was a great move for you. The hard part was retention. If you had agents who weren't doing the rev share portion, they weren't having team members create success, then it was hard to earn additional income without producing agents. So my thought was, let me try training them. Well, even if I trained all of them, the big issue still became the 80-20 split that they were losing. One of the transactions I did or helped one of my agents do was a $427,000 new build with a 6% commission. And that was their very first deal. I believe it came out to over $25,000 or so. And they had to give up $5,000, 20% of that. For a brand new agent who, after thinking about it, said that's just a lot of money to give away on one deal. I don't know where I'm going from here. I don't know how well I'm going to do. I'm new. I don't know. That just seems like a lot of money to give up on one deal. And I'm assuming if it had been a smaller deal in the 200,000 range and only 3%, they probably wouldn't have noticed it as much. But when you're giving away, $5,000 on a transaction that most people will never see the first time they do a transaction, it kind of points out exactly what the problem was with the 80-20 split, right? So they end up going to a place where there was a $500 flat fee with a brokerage fee and whatever other fees, because they felt like if they ever had another transaction of that size, they'd rather keep all but $500 or $600 or whatever the case may be, but not give up $5,000. So literally would have kept 90% more money. So that was the issue. And knowing that, I was like, well, where do you find a company where you can get rev share stock, also have a flat fee, and potentially take place with rev share? It turned out to be LPT. When it came along, I was running my own brokerage, and I thought about it. I was tired of trying to handle all these transactions with my agents. We'd closed like 34 transactions before the middle of the year, and we were just starting to get busy. And I realized how many times I had to stop what I was doing to handle commission disbursements, disbursement authorizations, correcting numbers that probably should have been corrected by the agent, but because it was closing day and they were at the title company or wherever they needed to be, there wasn't very much I could do to take care of it any other way. And I realized I hadn't been in front of people, wasn't doing the training that I like to do. 6 months had gone by and I haven't done a single seminar anywhere. So right when LPT came along, it took me literally 4 days once I heard everything about it and made the switch. Well, from there, I still wanted to make sure that I put together the programs that my agents would be able to join. And once they joined, I could give them the training from the ground up. I didn't want to have a gap where I'm just anticipating that all the agents are new or that all the agents have been around for a while. So what could I do so that everyone could be part of this group without having to split everything up into different places and parts and days? And I came up with the Dynamic Agent Mastermind. Once we started running the Dynamic Agent Mastermind, we realized we needed to take the team and bring them with us. And we did exactly that. And I'm going to walk you through and show you exactly why this is so important. First off, most people have never seen a 52-week digital roadmap. That's exactly what this is. When you first get started in the industry, most people don't know that they're working their own business. You are the CEO. So the very first thing I do is I have a video where you can watch and see my concept. All right, I'm Julian Jackson with the Dynamic Agents. And all right, so that video plays. It's like 17 minutes long, but it talks to you about what it means to be the CEO of a company, and it gives you an org chart of all the different positions and hats you're going to wear in this industry. A lot of people don't realize that you're no longer W-2. And a lot of the guidance that people are giving is, yeah, I was told by a broker or wherever I started, who's a great company. All the companies are great, but they told me never to do this, this, or this. You go to real estate school, they say you don't act as an attorney. Well, no, you don't represent people in court, but you are absolutely representing a client. So in that way, you're exactly like an attorney. They have a plaintiff, they have a defendant. You got to represent one or the other, and you can't have a conflict of interest by representing both. Sounds a lot like real estate when you have a buyer and a seller. So why is everybody so confused? Well, in the attempt to try to keep the agents out of trouble, they confuse a lot of agents with the buyer agency concept. Now the lawsuit hits and everybody's going, what happened? Well, buyer agency shouldn't be that hard to explain. You're representing a buyer or a seller, and you have to protect their interest above your own. And you need to know the rules on how to do that. But you also need to be able to explain your compensation. You have to walk them through the entire concept of what it is you're doing and what services you offer. Because if they did want to, compete, just like going to a car dealership, they go to one car dealership, a Chevy owned by one person, a Chevy dealership owned by another, and they have both of those people run down what the fees are going to cost to own this car. And they just happen to have the same make, model, and year and mileage and everything. They say, well, I'd rather buy this one because I'm getting a better deal. Well, it's the same thing with real estate agents. If they were to compare us and you're offering that Chevy and someone else offers a Chevy, and they can absolutely see that you're not doing as much with this particular vehicle as someone is with this other vehicle, well, they're probably not going to go with you. And that's the consumer's right. Unfortunately, what a lot of agents have done is they just piggyback on the listing agent who set up the commission fee for the buyer agent, which turns out to be against the Antitrust Act, the Sherman Antitrust Act, that says that we should not have price fixing. So if you fix the 3%, put it on MLS and tell people this is what we're offering, and we colluded to do it, there you go. Listing agent already knows what we're going to get because they're the one that negotiated for us. How do you help someone else compete when the agent that you're paying 3% may be horrible compared to another agent who's getting 2%? So they said, why don't you buyer agents figure it out for yourselves? You tell your clients what you believe you're worth. You determine, like if you have electric windows versus the ones that roll up. Hey, the reason I'm charging more is because I have electric windows. The reason I'm charging more is because I have a sound system that'll blow the socks out of that other one over here. So if you can show, even though it might be the same car, you have better features and enhancements, why would they not pay you more? But buyer agents weren't given that opportunity. So now you're starting to see with an org chart, you can see there's buyer agents, seller agents, inside sales agents. There's transaction coordinators. There's a sales manager that would handle both of these problems, situations, or even an operations manager that will handle everything. And then, of course, a marketing manager. You're doing all that. And if you understand that that's part of your job, you don't question it. You just realize, I got to get this done. It's not for me to go to a supervisor and ask these questions. The benefit of having a real estate company or a team leader is so they can give you a place of structure so you can observe what it's like to run a company, run a business. And I believe that this 52-week roadmap does exactly that. Some people look at this and go, oh, it's your program. No, it's your program. You actually own this as long as you're with my team or you're part of my mastermind program. You own this. And if you owned it, you'd master it. And if you master it, you're going to make really good money. If you treat it like a job and you only do it because someone is watching you, then you're not going to take it seriously enough to make a living at it. You cannot play real estate. You have to practice real estate. You can't play at it and hope that it'll turn out good. So just from looking at what you see here, someone says, well, what are the stuff that we typically don't hear from the mainstream brokers? Do they talk about financial planning? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But here's my game plan. Open a business account. All commission checks go into the business account. 60% of the checks go to your personal checking for living expenses. 20% goes to your savings for tax savings, emergency fund. 20% stays in the checking account for business expenses. Use 10 for marketing and paid advertising, etc. So if you have fees, professional fees, dues, all that, and keep up with your tax deductions as per below. So I also go into, I worked at H&R Block for several years since 1998 or 9. And they allowed me to do a lot of training with actually real estate offices. I go in real estate offices and show them why working with H&R Block might be better than working with a CPA or an accountant or bookkeeper. In a lot of cases, when it came to taxes, it was just better, a lot better, a lot cheaper. And there was protection that they had that some of the CPAs and bookkeepers did not have. But I give you a ledger on how to track your deductions so you know exactly what goes where. Then we talk about tax write-offs. It's just a quick little PDF. Again, you have to consult with your tax professionals because the rules that I talk about are very generic. Every year they change. So there's going to be different write-offs and you need to make sure you're aware of what those are. So you watch the video and you go from there. Then there's the goals, plan, schedules. We go through goal setting. You follow this pattern. Short-term goals, short-term plan, long-term goals, long-term plan, lifetime goal. Then you develop your marketing plan and your daily schedule. So if you click here, it'll take you to the spreadsheet. You download it, make your copy, watch these videos. It'll explain how to reach your goals, how to convert from one step to the next. And then you click next once you finish that, and it'll take you to day 2 of the boot camp. And yeah, you could go day by day, but if you're feeling good and you want to go faster, of course you should. Very first thing I tell people to do is get a transaction coordinator. This is basically how I would teach someone if I was flying a helicopter and there's an instructor pilot in that helicopter. You should just let them do all the work until you can observe and start to comprehend exactly what they're doing. A lot of people think, well, I need to learn all the paperwork. Well, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of practical exercises that you get to do. So you'll get to learn what the heck the transaction coordinator is doing. Now that you've seen it, it's kind of like ground school and flight school. We got to see the ground school stuff. They make us take the academic classes in the classroom. We learn that for a few weeks. And then they say, all right, now you're going out to the flight line. Now that you've seen some of this stuff, now we're going to let you see it in action. So that's kind of what I'm comparing this to. Do your ground school. Go through and do those practical exercises where I say, pretend that you're buying 514 Arabian and I'm your first client. So you're going to help me, Julian Jackson, buy 514 Arabian. You're going to put me on the search for the MLS. You're going to add my name and information to the buyer rep agreement. You're going to add my name and information to the 1 to 4 family contract and every other document you need. And you're going to send it to me through your .loop account or whatever other accounts you have. Now, if you already have a lot of practice of this, then of course, you probably want to just review my information and, get a refresher of the basics. It won't hurt, but I don't expect you to turn in all those assignments if you've been doing this and you're already pretty good at it. But for every one of the new people, if they have less than 2 years in the industry or they don't have a whole lot of transactions and they haven't done a lot of transactions lately, probably in the last 2 to 3 years, then you probably still want to go through every day of this. Then we start talking about video. As much as people don't like it, we show you where to find the actual teleprompter app to load it on your phone. Copy and paste this entire message. So you're just going to copy, paste it. If you don't like exactly what it says, maybe put it in chat GPT and say, please convert this to a short form script. No more than 40 seconds. And it may give you a better way to create the verbiage, but the bottom line is you want to introduce yourself to your friends, family, and colleagues. Let them know you're in the business and what you do, and that if they know anyone who's talking about homes or whatever the case may be when it comes to real estate, to look you up and use you. I get into minimum competency requirements, and then I ask you to take an exam. So you read through the information, you watch the video, you take the exam. It's not a long quiz, but it does give you a good idea of what you should be thinking about when it comes to competency. A lot of people don't think that anything related to real estate finance is something they need to stay current with. And if you go through this guide, you'll see that you absolutely have to. The craziest thing that I ever hear is that people get involved in real estate and they go to the training and they take 5 classes that are core, at least here in Texas. And it's your real estate 1 and 2, which is property 1 and 2 in law school. And then they have contracts and agency. Contract and agency are both classes in law school. So if they're teaching you real estate law, then you're not practicing being an attorney. You're practicing being a real estate agent. And practicing being a real estate agent means you need to understand real estate law. What I've noticed is people are scared to death to get people to sign documents because that's what we fear. We go in front of a car dealer. We like all the stuff they say up until the point we get in front of that contract and actually sign the dotted line. Now, that apprehension that you have, that's what you show when you're in front of other clients because you're afraid to get them to sign something because you don't feel like you did a great job of convincing them. But what is it you're trying to convince them of? What you really need to be doing is changing your mindset that you're an advisor. You're a guidance counselor. You're an educator. People ask me all the time, what's the difference between education and selling? Well, when I educate people, I share with them chronologically what's going to happen over the time frame that we're together. I don't just come up with a hodgepodge of a bunch of information. I don't get in front of them and go, oh, well, we're going to have to write a contract at a certain point. We're going to have to look at homes at a certain point. We have to get you financed at a certain point. You can throw all that stuff at people and they're going to listen to you and go, number one, I'm confused. Number two, how do I know what the heck you said to everybody else? So you should have a presentation where you follow along. And throughout that presentation, there's key points that you're going to be making that will get that person to understand that they're going to have to sign with you in order to work with you. And a lot of the language I use is when I sign with you. Or correction, when you sign with me. When you sign with me, this is going to happen. When you sign with me, that's going to happen. And I use an assumptive close. I'll be thinking the whole time, what am I going to do next? Well, the next thing I'm going to do is try to set an appointment. So when you sign with me, I'm going to do this with you. When you sign with me, I'm going to do that with you. When you sign with me, I'm going to do the other for you. Here are all the things I'm going to do. Here's my presentation. It's going to take me a good 30 minutes to get through it. And then I'm going to say somewhere throughout, one of the best days for you to start touring homes. Weekend or weekdays? Probably weekends. Okay, morning or afternoon. Saturday or Sunday? Probably Saturday. Saturday at 1. No, can we do Saturday at 2? Saturday 2, it works. That absolutely works. And then from there, you want to talk about follow-up and follow through. See, that's where I know most agents drop the ball. You're on that phone. You're all excited that you got them to say yes to an appointment. You told them that you were going to set an appointment and you forgot to send out the link for the calendar invite. Well, you tell them all this over the phone. You tell them all this in person. Wherever you meet them, you want to set the appointment. That's the first thing you should be thinking. Every time you meet someone, try to set an appointment. Every time you're on the phone with someone, try to set the appointment. You might go through the rapport building. You might, get to know them a little bit, but go for the appointment. Every single person that says, yeah, I'm thinking about that. Yeah. Well, hey, what day would be better for you to go look at homes? Weekend or weekdays? What would be better for you? Weekend or weekdays? What would be better for you? Weekend or weekdays? Just get used to saying that. And once you implant that in your brain, then you got to have the follow through. Hey, if weekend or weekdays are better for you, what I'm going to do on 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock on Saturday, what I'm going to do is send out a calendar invite as soon as we get off the phone. When you get that calendar invite, what I need you to do is accept the calendar invite as it will be confirmation for our appointment on Saturday at 1. The great thing about it is I set reminders on there for 24 hours, 2 hours ahead of time, and 1 hour ahead of time. So not only are you going to get a reminder at 24 hours, I'm going to get a reminder. Not only are you going to get a reminder at 2 hours prior, I'm going to get a reminder 2 hours prior. And then at the 1 hour reminder, I'm going to reach out to you and make sure you're on your way. A lot of agents ask me, well, how long do you give clients before you decide to leave the property? I'm like, grace period for what? Like if you go there and you just wait and they don't show. Yeah, not going to happen. I might have done that once in my life, but after it happened one time, I'm like, never again. So if you set it up that way, where they know that you're going to be reaching out to them, then make sure you send a calendar invite and then make sure you call them an hour before and say, hey, I'm on my way. What about you? And if they're not ready to go, say, hey, no problem. I have several clients that are ready to reschedule and they've been waiting on an appointment time. So I'll just fill in your slot with theirs. I would actually use that language and then you just reschedule when you get time. That way they know, hey, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, I got people that are going to replace you. I'm busy. And you don't change your time for them until it actually is an open slot. The other piece is if you told them a week earlier that not only are you going to send them the calendar invite, but you're going to send them a guide. Home buyer's guide, or they ask about the veterans programs, or they ask about USDA, and you have all these guides you can forward people. You send them one pager with a link or something that gives all these resources, and there's ways to do that with like a pre-buyer rep presentation, pre-listing presentation. We have all these tools available, but you got to get used to following this process. And then once you get off that phone, you send that calendar invite and you send that resource. Whatever you said you're going to send them, you have to do it. So it's not just following up an hour before. It's also following through with everything you said you were going to do for them. The more serious they see that you are about setting that appointment, the more organized they see that you are about setting that appointment, the higher your appointment ratio is going to go. And that's where the conversion starts to happen. You have to go through these steps, show them you're dead serious. You're about business. And once they see that, they know if they screw it up, they've just lost a good agent. But you will see as your appointment ratios go through the roof. Then you got to get good at the signatures. So if you're not good at the signatures, it's because you're not confident that you are offering them the right service. Again, how do you educate people? So when you meet them in person, now you're going to educate them. Hey, I would do it on Zoom based on the way the current requirements are to get them to sign the document. Go to Zoom, open up your presentation, and walk them through it. Now, what does that look like in this program? Well, I kind of get you to do all of it. This is like a prompt for everything. So once you finish the exam, this is your ground school. You're going to learn financing options, more ground school, because in addition to the 4 core competency courses you take that are like being an attorney, you're not practicing law, but you need to know real estate law to practice real estate. So if you know real estate law to practice real estate, you got to be able to explain what's in those contracts, just like someone explains to you what you're signing at a car dealership. If they didn't explain to you at that car dealership what you're signing, would you sign it? Hey, why am I signing this part right here? Well, this is the disclaimer that says that if your insurance doesn't blow, if they don't explain that, are you really going to sign it? So I've yet to understand why agents are not learning enough about how to get people to sign the contracts. The reason why they don't want to really get leads, the reason why they really don't want to get business the way they claim they do, is because they're not comfortable getting people to sign. And if you're uncomfortable getting people to sign documentations, that's number one reason why you're not generating leads. It's why you're not really working really hard on your brand. You're using all these things as excuses and obstacles and distractions not to do what you need to do. I know it. Everybody knows it. No one wants to admit it, but it's 100% the case. When you understand that you're going to be getting people to sign contracts, a lot of it's confusing because throughout real estate school, they're constantly telling you can't practice like an attorney. But all they're really talking about is the promulgated forms. You can't write contracts. They don't want us writing anything. That's the reason why they have the board of 7 and 6, whether it's realtors or broker attorneys or whatever the case may be. They do all that so that we just have a multiple choice contract to fill out. So you fill out the contract, but you still got to explain it. And you got to explain it in a way in which the person feels like you shared everything that you're supposed to do. One of the big things you might want to do is learn how to put together a presentation on the IEBS. I have people focus on one statement in there. Our job is to protect your interest above our own. That's your job. Now look at the rest of that stuff and it explains to you exactly what your job is and what you're getting paid for. But now you have to explain the features of what you do the same way someone explained the features of a car. I'm better because I have a better stereo system. I'm better because I have leather seats, not cloth. I'm better because I have electric seat move controls. There's so many things you can do to say that you're a better agent than someone else, or at least better in your own way. But you got to be able to express that in order to ask people to pay you. And once they've seen that, again, if you put in a presentation and you do it over and over again, you're going to get really good at it. So the other piece is, for listings, we know you got to get a listing agreement signed. And that pretty much gives you permission to market. And that's your job, to market their house. You're going to show them a little contract that says, if you sign this, I can market your property, and here's how I'm going to market it. Well, if you got to take 4 classes, mandatory in real estate school here in Texas, that are actually law classes, and you have to explain what you're doing the way an attorney would explain what they're doing, why are so many agents told they're not supposed to learn real estate financing? Oh, when you get to the finance part, just go hand them off to a lender. Well, the majority of agents, 75% of agents, start as buyer reps. Why are they being told to run away from the stuff that's a core competency course? I've taken real estate classes across the country, Nevada and California to be specific, and they all have finance. But you're told when you go to some of these big box brokerages that are the same ones that got sued in the lawsuit that did the buyer compensation for you, this all stems from the same thing. They don't think buyer agents know what they're doing. They think you're too new. They just made you a showing agent. They negotiated your compensation, and they're basically telling you, don't worry about that stuff. We don't want you learning that. We want you to go out there and just only deal with the low-hanging fruit. If the client's ready, willing, and able, turn them over to a lender. The lender will tell you if they're ready, willing, and able. And if the lender tells you they're ready, willing, and able, go show a house. So they made you a showing agent. Now, the better agents get really good at this, and they realize, like, I can't explain USDA. I can't explain conventional. I can't explain VA. Well, what if your lender's not very good at USDA, but your client actually would have qualified? They don't have enough money to put down 3.5% and cover closing costs. But you work with someone who can cover half their closing costs, and it's a zero down program because it's USDA, and they got a 690 credit score, and they make less than $110,000 a year. Well, they might not have been able to do the VA FHA program, but they could have done USDA, and the only reason why they didn't is because the lender you work with says they can't. Why would you allow that when it says specifically in your core requirements that you should have a detailed understanding of the 5 things that are in this program that I'm sharing with you: USDA, FHA, VA, conventional, and down payment assistance programs for your state. So if you understand that's what you should be doing, why would you avoid that? So hopefully that makes sense. Like, you understand now as you're going through this program. This is the orientation. I'm walking you through the orientation of what you're going to do when you're with my team or part of my mastermind day by day. Now, things start to switch up, right? Because like I said, this is the boot camp, the first 7 days. And as we get through the financing, you're going to watch those videos. You're going to take this exam. You got to score 95 or higher, or keep taking it until you do. I actually give you a preview of the exam so you can just learn. It's not to fool you. It's not to trick you. I just need you to get used to seeing the same right answer over and over and over. And of course, you'll get better and better and better. Everything, it's not just real estate financing, but also alternatives to financing. Like, what happens if you have obstacles like student loan forgiveness is required. Their debt to income ratio is too high. But they go to a program that we use for student loan forgiveness, and we've seen people go from $1,000 a month to $200 a month. That freed up $800, freed up their debt to income ratio, and they're able to move into a house. Then we also have someone that was in default. It's supposed to be a 9-month program if you go through the federal government to sign up, but if you go through this program, they were able to get them a letter of good standing in 4 weeks. So that's what we're trying to get everybody to understand. What you learned in real estate school actually has a purpose. It didn't seem like it at first, but now that we found out what happened with that lawsuit, it made it crystal clear to me what was happening. A lot of the agents, the brokerages out there who colluded with NAR and basically said, we'll fix the buyer side. We'll take care of that. They won't have any say-so in there. That's price fixing. Don't give the buyer rep any say-so in what their commission is going to be. We'll fix that price for them, and then we'll tell them what they're going to make. And then you hear listening and you say, I know what I'm worth. Well, they also said they know what you're worth. So I don't agree with that. If you're a buyer rep, you should be able to negotiate your own commission. If you're really good, you should be able to make more money. And based on what I'm showing you here, you absolutely will. Because you're going to make way more money when you know how to land the plane more. You're not sitting there trying to figure out, well, how in the heck do I get somebody with a USDA? If you didn't know they qualify for USDA and a lender tells you that the only thing they can try is FHA and it didn't work, there you go, you're done. Well, if I tell you that they qualify for USDA, you just doubled your success rate. Just doubled your approval rate. You went from only people that you could work with on FHA, and let's say 80% of the deals are done FHA. So, mathematically, maybe you can increase it by 20%. Great. You got 20% more deals than you would have got without knowing USDA. Now let's try veterans. Would you be surprised that some of the companies don't understand all the veterans programs? They don't know that you can get grants. There's MCC credits. There's certain lenders you can work with who know how to do that, and certain lenders who don't. So if I'm pointing you in the right direction, again, let's say it's another 20%. You just increased another 20%. So now you got, instead of 4 deals a year, you might have 6. If you're doing 10, now you got 16. So that's basically what you're thinking about. Over and over again, every time you think of a new concept, a new way to keep yourself in the game and above your competition, the better you're going to be. You're adding more features to the same car. And as you get better and better, you're going to improve on that car. You're going to add the leather seats. You're going to add the electric windows. You're going to add the door locks. You're going to add the Bose sound system. You're going to add the nice chrome rims. You're going to, whatever you got to do, you're going to make yourself that classy car that only a few people can afford, but they want to afford it. And that's what I teach you here. We're not going to be the low budget agents. You're top notch. You're rock stars. That's what we teach, because you're going to know stuff that no one else knows in this industry. And the number one reason we know that is because when you go through real estate school, they expect you to know the law side and they expect you to know the finance side. And if you can explain the law, you got to explain the finance. Pretty simple stuff, right? But if you were told something wrong in the beginning, of course it's hard. But when I was teaching people how to fly, I remember how many instructors were always telling me, like, oh, this person ain't going to make it. This person ain't going to be able to cut it. I'm like, well, shoot, you didn't give 100% of your God-given ability to teach. Why are you predicting they're going to fail? They're like, JJ, you'll see. I'm like, well, I know I've only been teaching for 3 months and you've been teaching for 10 years. But my thought is your attitude is wrong, buddy. Oh, God. Oh, my God. You really think you're going to be able to do stuff the rest of us can't do? Well, what difference does it make? You're going to fail them out anyway, so why not turn them over to me? And without fail, I didn't lose a single student that all of them thought we were going to get rid of. I think I had 6 or 7 before I finally got out of the Army and moved over to the Air Force. But it was just mind-blowing to me. As an instructor, I always felt like you can't teach them if you can't reach them. And it's easy to prove that you can turn someone into a failure when you're the instructor. That's easy. I know how many people try to see me fail and they teach me stuff the wrong way and then prove themselves right. Okay. Yeah, you said I was going to fail and you made sure I did. But then I learned from someone else and they go, that's the wrong way to learn it. I'm like, what? Wow. Okay. So I made sure I'd never do that to people. I don't like their personality. I don't like something about them. Therefore, I'm going to ensure that they fail to prove everybody that I was right. Okay. I don't do that. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like that's happening to them. So I show you the right way to do it, the best way to do it. I don't believe in cutting corners. If you're not meant for real estate, then you're not meant for real estate. It's not about me trying to explain to you the shortcut to do real estate. No, I'm going to teach you the right way, and it's the long way. Not right and wrong, right and long. Because the long way is the right way. And you should be explaining real estate law, and you should be explaining real estate finance. When you're working with buyers, you got to explain both. When you're working with sellers, you got to explain both. So why are you not doing that? Because someone told you not to? Throw that out of your head. The hardest students I had to train in helicopters were the ones that had bad instructors before me. They were taught bad habits, and I had to teach them better ones. And that's exactly what you're going to have to learn. Let that stuff go. Start with a fresh slate and understand that these exercises I'm about to show you, that's what comes from doing that. The best thing you do to be successful as a buyer rep agent, guess what? Watch me go through this presentation. Watch what I talk about. This is updated and it's new. It talks about the buyer agency. It talks about all the stuff that we needed to learn and should have always done. I've been doing this same presentation, a version of it. I added some things just to counteract some of the objections, but it's pretty much the same presentation I've been doing for 7 years. 7 years. As soon as I got back to San Antonio and started doing real estate again, I came up with my presentation. This is the one I've been doing. Then I recorded it so people could just watch it as part of my pre-presentation package. I give you, again, I let you watch another video. This is old, but it's still the same stuff because the test I want you to take has certain questions in there that go with that video. So as you watch it, you take this exam and you'll be able to pass it based on the answers that I highlight for you in that video. All right, now once you finish that, then of course the next step is to practice more, right? Buyer agent practical exercise. You have to treat me like your first client. Add me to the searches. Follow my checklist. Download all this material. It's going to tell you how to do this search and save more if you're a brand new agent in San Antonio. If not, then you have to match it up with whatever your training is through your broker. They should at least be willing to help you with that, even if I'm teaching you just through a mastermind. You're like, well, I don't know exactly what to do. Well, the terminology should be the same. How to get with your board, how to get your MLS, how to be able to get the forms. There's got to be something they can show you how to do that. That'd be weird if a broker can't point you in the right direction for that. Then, as you see here, buyer tenant rep pre-presentation package. Download it. Then the practical exercise. Follow the practical exercise. Buyer rep presentation recording. Record your presentation. You're going to have to practice 5 to 10 times and then record it on Loom and then send it to me here. So if I'm asking you to do all this work, there's probably a reason for it. And it's the best way to get, it's the second best thing to actually doing role play. But I promise you the discomfort you have of getting ready for that video is going to be lifelike. The thought of recording a video is going to make you feel a little bit nervous, and good. You should, because that's what you're going to feel when you're in front of people. Well, I don't want to record something that makes me look stupid. What do you do to make sure you don't record something to make you look stupid? You practice. So it's designed that way. You don't want to send me something crappy. So most people, what they do is just don't send anything. They just skip the assignment. Again, they think they're working for me. This isn't for me. This is for you. If you're a business owner and you want to do well and you want to stop worrying about whether you're going to be able to retire, you're going to have to be putting signs in the ground when you're 85 years old. Well, don't do the assignments and wait on someone to have to tell you what to do every day. Wait on me to hold you accountable. Wait on the broker to hold you accountable. Wait on everybody else to hold you accountable. If you do it that way, that's what's going to happen. But my goal is to make you autonomous so you don't need my help. And this automated program will do exactly that. Now we're going to show you how to become a new build specialist. I think this is the best way in the world to become a buyer agent. You want to know everything you can do? Go watch 5 to 10, 15, 20 different sales counselors at different builders. I would meet one a day for the first 30 days I'm in this business, at least Monday through Friday. Maybe on the weekends, not so much, because a lot of times you're going to have clients, or you should. But the non-busy times, usually when they're during the week, Tuesday through Wednesday or Tuesday through Thursday, sometimes even Fridays, they're just not very busy. So if you get to their office and you ask them, like, hey, do you mind touring me around as if I was a client, or if I was a potential home buyer? They're the ultimate home buying specialist. They're taught really good sales skills. And then you say, okay, once you finish touring me around the house, do you mind sitting me down and showing me exactly what you would offer them as far as financing for USDA conventional? Hey, you're trying to get an education on how to present. Who better than the people who are paid to go to high-speed sales training? Because, see, we don't get the sales training that these guys get. We get the law training. They don't have to worry about the law because they work as W-2 employees. So guess who has to worry about that? Their employer. Their employer handles all the lawsuits. When you're a licensed agent and you're 1099 independent contractor, TREC will come in and determine who's going to be liable. And it could very well be you, because you have a license. You're not going to be exempt at all. If they can see that it was solely on you as an individual, you're going to be the one that pays the price. And then from there, you go out and follow these assignments just as I share with you, step by step by step. Don't skip anything. Watch these videos. Don't skip anything. And again, if you treat this like a 9-to-5 job your first couple of weeks, you will springboard past your other agents. When I was in the mortgage industry, we would literally have a program for just a weekend, like a half a day on a Saturday. And maybe, 2 Saturdays we do this. After 2 weekends, we knew our mortgage professionals, our loan officers, were at least 9 months ahead of their peers just from following these assignments. Exactly like this. We knew it. They go talk to other people. They go, how do you price a loan after 2 weekends? Oh, he taught us how to price it. He gave us this little template. We just follow the template. We call up the account executive, and we just fill in the blank before we call them. And they think we've been doing this for 2 years. Brand new agents or brand new loan officers will come to other mortgage companies and come to mine, and I'd be like, you need to call the account exec and get the pricing. Huh? Well, who? No, our supervisors had to do that. Why? You need to be able to. How are you going to get more deals done if you don't know how to do this yourself? Oh, we were told not to. Sound familiar? Hey, turn it over to the lender. We don't need you doing that. We only want the low-hanging fruit. And then you're doing 1 or 2 deals a year, and you're going, well, why did they tell me that? Because they only need you to do 1 or 2 deals. They got 100 agents. Half of them don't do anything. The other half do 1 or 2 deals. Sounds like they got 50 to 100 deals done. They're going to eat well. But you want to make sure that you learn this the right way. Number one. Number two, we just found out again through the lawsuit, we never should have been doing that in the first place. So learning the right way is the long way. And that's what we want people to do. Learn this stuff like the back of your hand. Get really good at it. And I tell people, you want to master something, learn it as if you were going to teach it, because you're going to be the instructor for your clients. That's what you got to be thinking. You're the instructor for your clients. You're going to be teaching them all this stuff. So learn it like you're going to teach it, because you actually are. And then from here, you take this exam. As you can tell, I get reports on everyone if they're following up and doing the things they say they're doing, or if they tell me, yeah, I did it. They don't realize these exams come directly to me. And I'm like, okay. And then when the phone rings, sometimes they're like, you didn't pick up from me yesterday. Well, I already know what you're asking about. You sent me a little text that said you were asking about something that I know is in the videos. And I might send back a message again, check out video number 1 on day 3. So then guess what? Day 7, listing agent presentation and assignments. I want you to be able to do your presentations, and I want you to be able to get people to sign the documents your first 7 days in this industry. I want you to be that confident that the minute you get a lead, you're not afraid to sit down in front of them and do your presentation. You're hyped about it. You're excited about it. You know, after learning the stuff I'm sharing with you here, you know you can. It doesn't matter how You take off, you know how to land. I taught you all the different emergency procedures. I taught you how to do a hydraulics off. I taught you how to do engine failure. I taught you how to work with loss of tail rotor effectiveness. I've taught you how to learn if the engines, the rotor engine dies versus the jet engine. I've taught you how to deal with the flaps not coming down. I've taught you all of these different ways. How to ditch a plane if you can't get anywhere near land. The landing gear doesn't come down on a plane. I've taught you all these emergency procedures on how to land. So now you can take off and not be scared. See, the reason why most agents never get past the lead generation, they just keep, I just need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. No, you don't. You need to have the confidence to get in front of people and get a signature. And once you get the confidence to get in front of people and get signatures, this is easy stuff. Nothing to it. But I want everyone to understand that. When we're taught to fly helicopters, that's exactly how they teach us. You go through the traffic patterns, you learn the emergency procedures over and over and over for like 8 weeks. And until you can nail those emergency procedures at an 85% or better, most people have to be 87. They don't even usually graduate you if you're in the 82 range pilot. That's considered like a D or F. You got to have like maybe 1 or 2 maneuvers at the 85% range. Everything else has to be 90, 87 to 90. And then you'll get a chance to graduate, because who wants a freaking C, D pilot? The same people who want C to D surgeons? Nah, we don't want that. So we don't graduate that. So think about real estate the same way. Get really good at getting people to sign the documentation. And the reason you can do that is because you can explain the real estate side and you can explain the financing side. So there's real estate financing and there's real estate law. Be able to explain both. Have options for your clients. And we call it best fit financing, because we know if they're stuck in a certain situation, if you know the financing options and you know what, there is no, and I always tell people, you don't have a lender, you have multiple lenders. If one lender can't do it, I tell you, you should go talk to multiple lenders and find out what all their programs are. And then find out what the ones they're best at. And then compare those to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other lenders. And if one's really good at USDA and another one's good at FHA and another one's good at VA, then that's who you turn your clients over to. But when you're talking to your client, you're screening them to see which would be the best lender you're going to send them to. And then when you're doing your listings, same thing. You're sitting in front of a seller and they go, well, why would I need to worry about this versus this? Well, when it comes to VA, they're going to do a really strict appraisal. And there's certain things that might not pass the appraisal for that, and you're going to have to go get them fixed, or you won't be able to sell the house. Oh, so what's the best option? A lot of times it's going to be conventional and ask for cash. Oh, really? Yeah. The appraisal for VA, FHA, some of the other ones might be a little stricter than we want. And this is kind of more of a, maybe someone can move in and be kind of a fixer-upper for them, but some of the things that are wrong with it won't work very well for especially something like VA. So if you don't understand these little basics about the loans, how are you going to be a really good listing agent? Oh, I'm just good because they like me. Well, that's how most people survive, because you're a likable person, but you're not going to be a rock star unless you're super likable. I mean, if you're really strong in one area, you're always going to be good at something, right? But if you're wanting to be someone who's not super strong and naturally at an area because you're not someone that is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed all the time, then you have to convince them through your knowledge that you are the right choice. And they will be like, wow, you blew my mind. I don't care about how much I like my sister, my brother. You're my agent. And that's what's going to happen when you share with them information that's going to blow their socks off, which is exactly what I'm teaching you here. Now, from there, you're going to go through the same process. You're going to do your recordings of your listing presentation. And if I haven't uploaded the new listing presentation, I will, because I go into how to overcome a lot of the objections in the listings that have become part of the NAR lawsuit. And I want people to be able to understand how to overcome those objections. All right. And then from there, guess what? It's the 52-week Dynamic Agent Mastermind. This is where we teach you video intensive. We want you to get used to marketing your leads, or marketing for leads through video, as well as every other mechanism out there. I teach everything from open houses to how to record videos, all the things you got to do. These are the rules for the mastermind. Every week we do X, Y, and Z from Thursday, 10:45. Matter of fact, if you're getting this email, I'm probably going to invite you to our mastermind at 10 o'clock every Thursday. And if you're not part of the team or part of my mastermind, I'll invite you to 1 or 2 so you can kind of see what we do. And if you're sold on what you see, then I'll tell you how to join. All right. And then from there, getting organized. A lot of people just aren't organized. So this is week 2, and I go day by day. You're going to need certain resources. If you don't know how to do text replacements, I'm going to teach you. It's in a video. Then This is day one. Set up a follow-up campaign in your CRM. Whatever your company has, set up a campaign, even if it's just 1 week with a link. We'll talk about it, but set it up with a link, and you're going to be talking about your book of business, your SOI, your vendors, your closed clients already, and your old leads. And then make sure you send out something weekly to keep them engaged. And you'll start getting more referrals that way. The goal is to take your cold leads and turn them into your sphere of influence. Keep working with your partners. Make sure, even though you, in your mind, you don't understand why you'd want to send them a video about home buying, if they watch your video on home buying and go, wow, that's pretty good, I didn't know you knew that much, who do you think they're going to refer the business to? Same thing for the people you close with. There's a certain type of video that you can send out to everyone in your database, in your entire book of business. And you need to do this every week. If you don't do this every week, you're going to be wondering why 2 years from now you're still working as hard as you were 2 years earlier. And I'm telling you right now, this is the reason. So make sure you get to this point where your foundational follow-up plan is to be a weekly email that goes to people that are already in your database. And it should have a video attached to it. Now, sometimes you can send links to the video with a message. But again, you just put together a nice follow-up campaign that may last 365 days. I do 13 emails at a time because 13 times 4 is 52. If you have a way of looping those, it'll be like 13 weeks of content, then another 13 weeks, then another 13 weeks. So every quarter, they're going to be getting a repeat of the same information, which is not a big deal because sometimes they're not going to open it. If they get to the point where they recognize all those emails were the same every 13 weeks, they're probably going to be working with you. All right, then day two, you don't have listings to leads. It's a masterclass. You're going to learn how to use it. I show you how to set it up. And then there's all this stuff you need to work on. Setting up your YouTube channel. Teach you how to do that as well. Day three, Google Apps. If you don't have them, get Google Keep. Start creating Google Forms. All these are programs with videos. I teach you how to set up pivot tables if you decide you want to use them. And then people say, well, what can we put in the form if we create one? Well, here are the basic questions I tell people to ask. And you can add Google Forms to your home screen to send out to leads. So once you create that form that asks the qualifying questions, it's kind of like a pre-qualification form. What I love to tell agents is you may not be able to do a pre-approval like a lender can, but you should be able to pre-qualify. And what I talked about earlier was exactly that. How do you pre-qualify? That's how you pre-qualify. And then from here, we're looking at the 52 weeks, or correction, the week two. As we mentioned, getting started is day three. Day four, sphere of influence marketing. How to get the word out to your sphere of influence. Sometimes when you're out and about trying to create that sphere of influence, you might be out there handing out 10 business cards. You're trying to take cold leads and convert them into your sphere of influence. Because even though some people may not work with you, they can still be part of your marketing army. And that's the key. I think a lot of people don't realize every time you talk to someone, think about the third-party marketing approach instead of thinking about, hey, do you need any help? Think about what happens every time you go into a clothing store and the person walks up and says, do you need help? Our automatic instinct is to say, no. But imagine what happens. Someone says, do you know anyone that could use help with real estate service? And they're like, whoa, me? Like, why didn't you ask me? It's funny how selfish we can be. Like, if you know that and you don't understand psychology, you already know just using the third-party approach works. So when you send out emails, try that. Try, hey, do you know anyone that might need help with buying, selling, or investing in property? Oh, yeah, I was just talking to my friend about that. Or, yeah, we were just talking about that. Whatever the case may be, you'll be surprised if you use a third-party approach. People will automatically be attracted to you and want to work with you. Then there's day six. Organic buyer lead playbook. I'll teach you how to use Facebook Marketplace to generate free leads. And I have number one ad, the number two ad. I have videos recorded for you so you can literally get through this and start having leads to come in the door. But again, I want you to be able to land the plane before you start flying. See, to me, leads are the takeoff. Why are you going to take off if you don't know how to land? So I'm already teaching you how to land so that when the time comes to take off, you're good to go. And then, of course, there's day seven. Get in your first buyer lead to closing. So we walk you through all that, the tracking the milestones, running organic buyer lead generation playbook, all that stuff that you've already done. Now it's time to put that into place where we can track everything. And then, of course, as we look at the next day, we start talking about how to do your brand so you can get your Facebook cover page knocked out, the branding course, how to run paid ads if you choose to. Here's an entire checklist on how to do it. There's videos to watch on how to do it. The downloadable brand awareness ads, I want you to use the ones that work really well. just to brand yourself. You're not trying to see how many leads you can get. You're just trying to make sure that when people go check out your page, they get to see something congruent and consistent, and they know it's you and they know what you do. Then week 4, now we're going to get serious about video. And then guess what we do every week after that? More and more video, more and more assignments. We just keep going. There's a reiteration here of the finance. I'm probably going to remove that because I noticed now I have it in the boot camp where I originally wanted, but when I first started, people kept asking, well, what separates us? We added it here in the mastermind. And I eventually said, you know what? I want to just take the boot camp from where I had it in Google Classroom and move it into the 52-week digital roadmap, because I think it's a better place. And I think people need to learn it long before they ever start drawing and trying to get leads. Because again, you got to be able to land before you take off. As we used to say as pilots, takeoffs are optional, landings are mandatory. So once you take off, you better know how to land that plane. If you want to start generating a whole bunch of leads, you better know how to get signatures on those freaking contracts. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. All right, and then multi-option strategy, overview, etc. All that stuff's right here. And that's what you want to be able to see. That's week 19, 20, 21. I'm going to get into YouTube stuff down here. And then you're going to notice that some of these are just scripts for what to do every time you want to record a video. So there's a script. This is a strategy. As I'm updating this entire package, it's going to say just sold by J Prime Realty Group. You can actually do exactly what the sellers do ahead of time as a seller agent. You can do the same thing afterwards after your client moves in. You can say to your client, hey, do you mind if I put a sign in your yard for 30 days? Now that you're my client, you moved in, the listing agent is going to take their sign out of the ground. They don't want to see that every day because they had nothing to do with them. That was for the person that sold the house. Well, now your clients just bought the house. You can put a sign in the yard that says sold by JJ. Call here. Call this number. Text this number 24 hours. Whatever you want to say with those signs, but leave it in the ground for 30 days and see how many people reach out to you. So that's a strategy. But again, we'll put that in here. But there's always going to be something like that every week that we go through for 52 weeks. And there's going to be concepts and principles that I teach throughout so that you totally understand what happens in a 52-week cycle. And I'll wrap this up so that you understand when it comes to the orientation. You're a dynamic agent, and it's a 52-week digital roadmap. And I want you to be a rock star. And if you follow this step by step, you will be. You're going to notice that some things work better for you than others, and other people do stuff that works better for them than the stuff that worked really good for you. But we meet every week, and the people who are doing well and did the assignments, we get them to share their wins and how it worked out for them. And that's exactly what we want for you guys. We want you to always be getting wins and feeling like there's something good happening every week. And sometimes just being around other people. We'll talk about accountability and masterminds and all the stuff that goes with all this, because we have events on a regular basis too. If you met me at one of my trainings, that's one of the events we do, one of the things we talk about. I also send out additional videos on mindset and the right mindset to be successful. I have other projects we can work on. And of course, I say, always be a student of the game. But there's a certain time when you want to start taking that type of training. When you're your first 6 months to a year, I would recommend you don't just go to all these ad-lib classes. Just get out of the classroom. Start with one person, your mentor, your coach, and just follow that person for the first 6 months. If 3 months goes by and you don't feel like you've learned anything, you should probably switch mentors. But at the 3-month mark and you learned a lot, but you haven't implemented, then you need to do some introspection and realize maybe it's something you should do to fix that. Maybe get with your coach and find out, well, what am I missing? Well, like I said, the 90% of the reason why most people can start generating leads, doing all this stuff and going, well, I don't know what to say. Well, it's not that you know what to say. You don't really want to get in front of people because you are not comfortable with getting them to sign a contract. Because we can teach you a script, but it'll just sound out of place. Because there has to be a purpose and an intention once you start sharing your knowledge. You're sharing your knowledge not to get a contract signed. You're not going to make any money. There's not a single person in the car dealership business who isn't taught how to get people to sign that dotted line. In real estate, we don't learn that. So you have to figure out how to do it. And if someone's not teaching you that, then you're not going to be comfortable doing it. And my thought process is pretty simple. Get comfortable. I give you enough practical exercises. The signature part's a little different. You just got to watch the video and be thinking the whole time, like, when you sign with me, this is what I'm going to do for you. When you sign with me, this is what I'm going to do for you. And if you get to the end and you watch my videos, you'll know exactly what I say to get them to consider signing. So when it comes to listings, it's in order for me to market, I need to have this signed in order for me to be able to move forward and market your property. Do you want me to market for you in the next 2 Wednesdays from now or 3? Yeah, we need to think about it. Okay. Well, as you know, there's no there's a no obligation guarantee, right? Like if you sign today and you change your mind, we can just tear it up. Oh, you got to know that. And again, if I don't follow through on my commitment every week and update you on this stuff, you can tear it up. At any point, you can tear it up. I'm not one of those people who's going to tell you got to stay with me if you don't like what I'm doing. But if you met someone who offered you more than I'm offering you right now, then I would hold off too. But if you haven't, again, you can tear it up the next day if someone pops up here and tells you that they can do a better job than me. But once I get started marketing your property, everything I told you is going to happen is going to happen. So it's up to you. But we can get started now if you're serious, because this is how I separate the curious from the serious. And if you're serious about marketing, if you're serious about getting your home on the market and getting it sold, then I'm serious about helping you. And all you got to do is sign this. And again, if it doesn't work out, we just tear up the agreement. Now, there's caveats to that, but you just have to understand how to get comfortable with it. Same thing with the buyer side. When are you going to start looking at homes? Weekend or weekdays? Okay, in order for us to start touring homes, I need to get this signed. Boom. But you do your entire presentation, show them what you're worth, show them all the financing options you have. Again, you're going to share the financing options the same way you would share the legal side for listings and buyers. You're going to share the financing side with listings and buyers. Matter of fact, the better you understand the financing side, the more likely it is you're going to get the deal when other agents that claim to be the best can't. You'll be kicking the best so-called listing agents in the country. You'll be kicking their backsides, and I'll be like, we don't understand what just happened. Well, I mean, think about that. I mean, when I first got started, everybody's like, how in the heck are you getting listings from some of the best agents? You're going in people's neighborhoods and taking properties from the best listing agent in the city. I'm like, in the neighborhood, I'm like, I don't know who they are. I don't care. But if I'm sitting in front of someone and I go, I got a list of 3,000 buyers and some of them might be willing to buy your house. How do you get a list of 3,000? Oh, I work with buyers primarily. And so I have a list. I can run this to that list right away. Matter of fact, not only can I run to this, but I can also send out a list to Facebook. And there's what they call custom audiences. I can take this list, upload it to the Facebook custom audience, and send them free videos so they can just watch them every day. You ever seen Facebook? Oh, you know how when you can watch Facebook and you see these little ads come up and they look like commercials? Yeah, I actually know how to do that. I'm going to do it with your house. Facts tell, stories sell. So I start sharing stories with the clients, and they're like, yeah, I want one of those. Get them excited about the story. They're like, oh, my God, I got to have it. I got to have it. But throughout your presentation, that's what I'm doing. As you watch these videos, you'll see that's exactly all I'm doing is getting people excited about the idea that I'm going to do something for them that they didn't even know could get done. Other agents are still talking about putting a sign on the ground, putting on MLS, and praying that it sells. Yeah, there's a fancy way to say that. But if you don't know how to use Facebook, you don't have a tool like we have to post everything. And then for all of our LPT agents, now we got the buyer presentation packages, $99 for over, I'd say at least $500 to $1,000 worth of material. The highest quality you're ever going to see with your face, your marketing, your QR codes. And we got our LPT listing power tools pack. No way anyone's going to ever ask you what is it you're doing different from everyone else when you're with LPT and you're working with my team. Guaranteed. It's almost impossible for them to say, well, I don't see what you did. Because they're actually going to see everything you're talking about in every presentation you do. All right, but that's the orientation for J Prime Realty, my mastermind. We're powered by LPT. And what I'm going to get into next will actually be the overview of LPT and J Prime Realty. What is it that we are compensated for helping you? And once we share that with you, then it's kind of on you to make the decision on whether you want to make the switch. I will tell you, it's a test drive. Don't burn any bridges with your previous brokerages or anyone else. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to make a switch and can't move back. Most of the agents I work with, especially if they're on my team, they stay with me for years. The ones that are really high speed, they stay with the brokerage because they still have access to me. But most of the people that leave, that's because they've outgrown, and a lot of them become brokers or they become their own entity and they're doing really well. And once they've done that, of course, I don't want them hanging around and sharing with me any additional funds if I'm not doing anything to help them. But we'll walk through that with the compensation side, and we'll get into that in the next video.